I'm going to just start this whole my part of this whole thing by just complimenting y'all. I have never seen the level of energy in the community that I have seen. The believism, the belief that, actually we can be empowered and we can actually, learn to not just take what they give us. I got to be honest with you. 3 years ago, when I first joined TikTok, that energy was not there. It was all the energy was, why do people treat us so badly? And none of the energy was, I've learned how to know my worth and it's not me, y'all. I mean, I understand that I had a part of it, but what y'all are doing, I think is much more impactful at the moment. I think I'm just very impressed at the organization behind the invisible, what do you call it? The invisible community.
Correct. Invisible community.
It's fantastic. Yeah. It's fantastic. And people are beginning to have something they haven't had in a very long time. And hope is a powerful drug, y'all.
It is very powerful. And, Amanda and I started just using that term invisible patient or invisible community months ago. And because I just really felt that's how we are, right? Because we don't have like a physical anomaly that shows that we're injured or we're sick, right?
Oh, I agree. I'm feeling that today, by the way.
And so like I'll scroll my FYP page and there'll be people that I've never met, and I'll check. They don't follow me. I don't follow them. And they'll be talking about a chronic issue and they're using the term invisible community. And it's the coolest thing,
We're changing the vernacular. We are. We're changing the vernacular. We're changing the vernacular to, no one will help all the way to, no one has. They were changing the vernacular first from no one will help to no one has helped. And that is a huge mental shift. Yeah. Even though it doesn't lead everybody immediately into success, right. The belief that there are actually people out there that do want to help you, and the belief that you can actually go find them is again, it can only lead us in better directions. Now, do we have every single thing still stacked against us? Is everybody else on the opposite team? Yes. I don't want to, I'm not all about blowing sunshine up people's tuchuses, but, I know I'm one of the few people who still use the word tuchus.
I love that word.
Anyway.
We may not change the world, but at least they know we're here. At least they know we're here.
They can't deny our existence. That's impressive.
That to me is a major victory in itself. It's just letting them know that we're here. So hey, I need to bring up Dixie real quick because Dixie's our number one.
Do all the stuff. Yep.
All the stuff. I got to find.
I know. I skip all the way past the rules.
No, you're fine. You're fine. She was just here. I just saw her. I have no idea. Dixie, you want to send me an invite? That would help me so I can find
we're
you.
making the FYP.
Yeah. All right. Well, not yet. We had a 15 for the FYP. So, Dixie, where'd you go? She must have fallen off. There she is. All right. Well, I'm going to do her speak. There she is. All right. I have her invite. Sorry, y'all. It's been a week. If you see my videos, I'm still recovering from the fiasco last week. So, hey, Miss Dixie, how you doing?
I'm fine.
You're fine? You peachy tonight?
Do what, hon?
Said, are you peachy?
Yeah, just peachy. All right. Good evening, everyone. We're delighted that you could join us tonight. Before we begin, I'd like to highlight a couple of points. First, notice the orange heart above Keith's head. By clicking it, you will gain 45 points and get visible among those who need our help. Your first comment clicking the orange heart will contribute An additional 30 points to the FYP. Gifts also contribute points.
Yes.
While not required, they are greatly appreciated. As a reminder, all gifts tonight will be donated to Dr. Mike to benefit our community. Let's show Dr. Mike, Dr. Mike our gratitude for his support and the help he has provided to many of us. Let's work together to make a donation that will show our appreciation. Let Dr. Mike know that we appreciate his hard work and dedication, and let's show our love and support for our community. Regarding subscriptions,
Amen.
please click on Keith's name. Keith offers benefits for subscribers. I can't talk tonight. Usually
Sorry,
subscribers procedures can't talk. Like I said, go to the local animal shelter. But tonight they will go. They're going to go to the Dr. Mike's efforts.
Yes.
Again, thank you.
Cool beans.
Remember,
Thank you, Miss. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
almost done. Almost. Remember to tap the screen during the lives to keep us on the FYP. If you're unsure where to tap, go ahead and tap on Keith's head. I promise he won't feel a thing. Thank you all
Look, see, it doesn't.
Can't feel it. Can't feel
thank
it.
you for letting me interrupt your schedule. Now I will turn it over to the co-host and guest, Dixie, signing out.
Thank you, Miss Dixie. Just
you.
a couple more things. The general rules, in case somebody's new tonight. No politics, please. Let's save that for the 10,000 pages on TikTok that have politics. No drama llamas.
Thank you, Kat.
The only llama that's allowed is the really cool one that comes up on the screen
Private
as a
llama.
gift. That's it.
Right.
As Dixie said, the donations tonight, any donation sent to me, like the hand hearts or the llamas or the corgis, there's a llama right there. I love it. Any of those that are sent to me will be cashed out and sent to purchase books, Dr. Mike's books. So folks who need the book and can't swing it will get it. And I've been informed that whatever we raise in through those gifts tonight will be doubled tonight. So
Awesome.
We have a really good opportunity there's the corgi butt. I love the corgi butt. So that's an opportunity to help a lot of folks right there tonight. So do what you can. It's not required, obviously, but if you can, let's see if we can help some folks out tonight. So
Amen. That's awesome.
I think that's my speech. Oh, I got the duck hat. That's so awesome. You guys are the best. Also, I sold enough books that I'm going to buy one book myself. I'll send you that on top of that, the commission on that.
Awesome.
paid for one book. So that's good too. So you had a day, huh? That video from Sarah was pretty powerful. I saw that and I'm like, man, if he's had a day, he needs to see that. Well, I figured he needed to see it anyway, but
but it's true. And that's not, and as with all days, thank you for that. As with all days, it wasn't that it was all bad. It's just that it was all emotional, I think even good days, especially clinical days where you're making a difference in people's lives. Well, it's still, it saps your strength. We all have internal batteries and they all get wound down a little bit. You've been hearing me talk about, having to face the things I'm facing with my back and probably, looking at surgery and, and I'm still kind of, I'm doing my physical therapy. I'll do anything to try and, stave that off a little bit longer. And today I had a really good coaching call with some folks that actually this was a donated coaching call. So I want to let y'all know that your donated efforts actually allowed me to do a one-on-one coaching call with a chronic pain patient, and we came up with I think it was a really good, hey darling, with a really good plan for their next visit. But the number one thing that they had to realize, and the number one thing that sometimes the book will tell you is, and I think you kind of alluded to it in one of your videos, Keith, is that it was, sometimes you're just dealing with assholes, or as you call them, buzzsaws. And you're right. The book does not fix an asshole. It just doesn't.
No.
But it'll give you the courage and the strength to leave the asshole. And we, one of the things that we did on the coaching call is how do we feel less trapped? One of the things that the book is about is how even if my circumstances can't change right now, how do I go from feeling like the victim to realizing that I'm staying here in this moment by my own volition, not because I'm excited about it, but because I choose to, because I have a plan.
Yeah, and that's it's ironically on my list of things short list of things tonight. Buzzsaw doctors was the first thing I wanted to talk to you about.
And that's what we were dealing with today on that coaching call. It was I said I was quiet. I let her do her 3-minute life story, and I said, and when she got to the end of it, I said, honey, the only thing that they're telling you is they want you to leave. And the only thing the best thing that you can do is honor their request. I said, now we have to have a plan, but it was good when I said those words and it touched their heart, because the thing that they were most worried is that they needed a new provider. But all of a sudden, when I said you need a new provider, it was no longer scary anymore, because it wasn't just. They realized it wasn't just them seeing it. One of the things that I point out in the book is that, if it doesn't work, the problem's not the words. The problem's the person you're talking to.
Exactly.
And one of the things that Sarah taught me today, it actually reminded me of myself. Y'all, when I joined TikTok 3 years ago, I was not a unicorn doctor. I was a good doctor. I'm still, but I was not who I am now. I have been changed through the advice that I have given out. When I have had to put myself in, this is why I love coaching calls. Every single time I do a coaching call where I can't give you medical advice, I can only give you what I would do in your shoes. It helps me see you even more. You know what I'm saying? When I have to realize, well, what the hell would I do with this shit?
Yeah.
That's really powerful if the provider wants to grow.
Yeah. If they want to grow.
If they want to grow.
And I ran into, I'm still I'm back on the fence if my guy is a unicorn or not. I'm appreciative of what he did. I am, but I'm not going to get into my issues with him right now because I don't want to waste time. But what the book does is exactly what you were just saying. It helps mentally prepare you that if they are a buzzsaw, if they are an asshole, it's not necessarily you.
Right. Absolutely. That's right. Yes. Everyone else thinks they're an asshole too, Yeah.
Right.
And it's hard because it's beaten into us so much. But when we leave, after they've treated us like that, we can't beat ourselves up for failing. Why didn't I didn't do this, or what else could I have done? Or and y'all, when I say these words, I've lived these words because I did that. I lived it for 8 months with Dr. Israel when he was doing that to me, and it wasn't until I got pissed off and I started interviewing other doctors, and when I would leave afterwards, and you're like, there ain't no way I'll let him touch me. I would not let him do anything. They could say whatever they wanted to in that interview, and it didn't bother me. All it did
that was another thing
me.
from the coaching call today. Another thing from the coaching call is, how do we get ourselves to the point to where you feel like you can say no to that procedure? Because you've had 6 of them. Now you're getting ready to have your 7th. How do we get you to where because what are you afraid of? You're afraid they're going to take your medicine away. How do we get you where you're not afraid they're going to take your medicine away? How do we squirrel away here? How do we try kratom there? How do we do anything? And they even introduced me to something today that I have to look up called, hold on a second. It's something lettuce, but it's not actually a referral to marijuana. Because that's what I thought it was when they first mentioned it.
Wild opium lettuce.
Yes. Wild. Yeah. Right. And, so now I've got to look that up. I've got to try it. I want to know if it has any benefits and stuff like that. And, but anything to make us feel less trapped.
Beholden to.
Yeah. Beholden. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so even though she's still going to get that injection, that even though that's the plan right now, because honestly, I had to say, if I was in your shoes, you're not ready. And so I'm kind of stuck if I'm in your shoes. This is also what I love about the coaching calls, because if it wasn't for this community and my interactions with the community, I would still be so ignorant about some of the torture that y'all are put through. I was so ignorant when I first got started, because, I don't put people through that. It wasn't that I haven't become a kinder. I've become a lot less ignorant, and I see things more. The kindness that I already had within me has spread, because now I understand in ways that I never understood before about what patients are put through.
Yeah.
And it was foreign to me, because I'm like, these are things I would never consider doing. And, I didn't have to learn to not be an asshole, but I did have to learn how many people have to deal with assholes, so that I could help. I could understand myself why there was all this angst against me when I first got started.
Yeah. And unfortunately, doctors like you do a lot of cleanup. Right. Because
absolutely,
we've been through so much, but
I've somewhat made a business on it.
Yeah.
I call it. I take all the throwaway patient. You don't want them, I'll take them.
Yeah. But
Bad for doctors like you.
I think it's interesting that I loved how you admitted that you're doing physical therapy, so you don't have to do the surgery right now. Right. Because I'm at that point too, where I'm really trying to do anything, not to get cut on. And in the state of Texas right now, and if they cut on me, there's a good chance I may not get meds for acute pain after surgery. So there's no way I'm going to let anybody cut on me right now.
Right, exactly. So, if that's the circumstance.
Yeah. But I just want to make that point about those doctors, those buzzsaws, that when they act and when they behave like that, it's not us typically. And we can go in and be jerks, and sometimes we deserve it, right? But typically, though, when we come in and we honestly explain ourselves, and they're still not helping us, do your best to not take that personal. You may have done everything right, and they're still gonna some of them are still gonna say no, right? So
yeah, suffice to say, it really isn't your fault sometimes.
Yeah. So
it's also important to learn how to advocate for yourself properly, though, too, because some of it is in our hands as well.
Well, yeah, and I agree, and this is where body doubling is very useful. Just having another person in the room with you is an incredibly empowering thing, and it doesn't have to be, I'll speak to women on this. It doesn't have to be a man for you to be listened to. Okay. Just having somebody there that's hearing the trash come out of their mouth tends to clean up the trash a little bit. And so you don't need a lot of times you don't need an advocate because you're the person, you have an inability to advocate for yourself. You will always be taken more seriously if they're talking to two people than one.
Right. And again, though, unfortunately, I feel we got to put the caveat out there. Some of those doctors are still going to just ignore you and tell you what they want you to hear. And,
the immensity of a person to be an asshole when they have decided that is their course of action cannot be understated.
No, there was a lady who, she's a retired RN. She went to an appointment with an 80-year-old lady who had hurt her back, and the doctors are just injections. We don't give out to opioids and take Motrin and everything like that. And this 80-year-old lady is taking care of her 80-year-old husband who's like 260 pounds, and she can hardly walk now. And he was like condescending to her still with this former nurse, in the room. So you're still going to get these folks. You're still going to get these clinics. You're going to get them that are just going to have the same mantra, and just don't take it personal.
Right.
Something else that I don't think we touched on last time that I'd like to touch on tonight, and I know that you a few weeks ago did a Zoom call on it, is drug tests.
Right.
I've been talking with a lady who was just in the ER for pain. They did a panel on her, and she's like us, right? And with me, she's like 50 years old, suburban, came back positive for it starts with an A.
Methamphetamine?
Well, from meth as well as amphetamines, separate
Right.
amphetamines as well. And so it was a false positive, and they basically kicked her out of the ER, told her we can't help you. And when it got put into the hospital system, it automatically was picked up by by her PCP and pain doctor's office, who dropped her. Both of them dropped her, as well as the pharmacy wouldn't hand out the script she had there to be picked up. So I was like, have you gotten retested? Call your doctor and say, what clinic, where do you want me to go? I'll pay out of pocket. Tell me, send the order. Let's get this done. Retest me now. Because they didn't retest her in the hospital. They didn't give her the opportunity to retest. So I'm clean. I don't smoke weed. I haven't used kratom. I don't use anything than what he gives me. But I still get nervous going in and having to get hand in and hand.
I really wish that urine drug screens were not a valuable piece of clinical information. Unfortunately, because of the fact that we're operating on a clinical spectrum, the people that are the most afraid of getting their drug test are not even the people that the test is designed for, and so it is frustrating. And I have tried to figure out a way to show that I'm being responsible and still, and test less, and there's a balance that I have to strike. But yes, it is robbing. There is a robbing of some dignity in a drug screen, and I will freely admit that. And if it wasn't for the fact that again this continuum, and then that there's people in the center that I call the chemical copers, the ones that are the ones that don't treat the medicine as the harmful thing it can be. These drug screens are oftentimes the things I use to keep them from moving to abject substance use disorder. But again, I use drug tests differently than a lot of people. I use drug tests to retain people and to keep them on my service if at all possible.
All right,
not to dismiss them.
I don't know what we did, but they just kicked us off the FYP page. So it said that it was discussing matters that go against community guidelines. I kid you not.
Well, yeah, we're probably, yeah. That's the same thing they got the book banned, to be honest with you. It's ridiculous.
And it just reason discussing drugs and or regulated substances. All right, whatever. How many times have I mentioned certain drugs on this thing? So, all right, so let's just put that out there, okay? And maybe I'm on the radar because if you don't know Tacoma Spoonie, you need to find Tacoma Spoonie. He was on last Thursday, and it was pretty outrageous. But it was funny, and it was crude, and it was a lot of, I was off the hook. But anyway, so we're going to leave the test part out for now. Let's go somewhere else with it. Before I get into my next one, because it's a little long, because you listed 8 different things that kind of pertain to doctors and patients, I wanted to kind of talk to you real quick tonight because it's important. Amanda, you had sent me some things that you had tonight.
Yeah, I mean, if we ran out of ideas.
Well, the future, and then we'll get to mine because they were important. I thought they were important.
Okay. So I wanted to know personally, because last week we talked about the Grief Project and kind of summed up everything.
Fantastic, by the way. I really enjoyed being part of that.
That was pretty powerful, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think it wiped everybody out.
Afterwards. And how did you feel during,
Okay. During, I didn't realize how much some things still hurt. You realize them intellectually, but then when you have to describe them, and you realize that no matter what words you use, you're not going to capture it. whoever listens is still not going to quite understand. They're going to understand better than before you talked. And yet, when you realize that it's such a personal process that is so hard to quantify to someone, you feel like you're failing even in the description the whole time you're doing it. But cleansing too. It was, to be able to say, you know what, this still friggin' sucks. It just does. And I'm still crying about it. And it's been 33 years. And now I've made a large practice out of absorbing everybody else's grief, because I have to help them understand that what they're going through is normal. And so I need to, in order to do that, they have to see me being human, and I'm going to have to, to let my walls down. And sometimes I got to tell you, that sucks.
Yeah,
it does, but I can't not do it. I can't not do it because I'm not going to leave them out in the wilderness when I have the means to help them at least understand that being in the wilderness is where they're supposed to be right now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's perfect.
Oh,
timing.
in a pompadour. Anyway,
I think the Grief Project, it blew me away. The acceptance of it, and the people who bought into it, and the people that started doing it all by themselves,
on their own. Oh man, I think
it went beyond any expectations I could have ever hoped for, well beyond. But at the same time, I am still recovering from that as well. And it was funny. I was at my therapist on Wednesday after we wrapped everything up, and I told her what we did, and she just laughed at me. She's like, "You guys went through the 5 stages of grief in 5 days. Are you an idiot?" And I said, "Right now, I am. I am an idiot."
Therapy on Thursday, and my therapist pretty much said the same thing. She's like, "Wow, that was courageous."
That was stupid, but it worked.
Exactly. I love both descriptions, quite honestly, because they're both accurate.
Right.
Yeah.
I got the goose again.
I love the goose.
That is so funny. Y'all don't forget, y'all, all those gooses and meerkats and llamas and corgis that get thrown to me will go towards buying books from Dr. Mike. So,
and let me just drop the website for just a second, DrMikeSays.com. And believe it or not, we're down to just, I think I only have 1 or 2 names at the moment. So I want to encourage people that might be there's 86 people. It's likely that there's somebody here that can't afford the book that needs it. So go to DrMikeSays.com. If you're on your phone, choose the drop-down menu. If you're on a desktop, go to the bottom of the page on page 1. But there is a thing on there that says, "Need a book donated?" ? By all means, fill that out. Right, the longest anybody so far, because of all the kindness of human beings, has had to wait is like 9 or 10 days before I mailed it out from the point that they sent me the email. And most of them, most of the time, they're getting it in in less than they're getting it mailed out in less than a week. So DrMikeSays.com. It cannot be simpler. DrMikeSays.com.
And all those gifts tonight.
Oh, here, look, it's at the bottom of my title. Dr. Mike Says, except stop after media and do .com.
.com. And everything that's gifted to me tonight is doubled. So everything's doubled that comes to me tonight. We have an anonymous donor that's agreed to double it. So we want to get some books in some people's hands tonight. So let's do that. So on page.
Okay, hold on a second. There's a quick question I feel like I want to address.
Were you?
And then Amanda, but let me do this one. Dr. Mike, do you feel like it's starting to ease up on doctors who are willing to help and prescribe? I think that maybe it is a little bit. The problem is now that we're dealing with is all these stupid quotas the DEA has set. And now we're running into people who are willing to prescribe, but now now there's no medicine to give them. And so there's that issue. The other part about it is that I think people are being willing to prescribe because they're learning how to talk. That's where, honestly, it's everything that we're doing. I think people are being more successful transacting because we are teaching each other we're teaching them how to be unicorns. That's what I wanted to say that earlier with Sarah. When she said that I found my unicorn, I think that the conversation they had is what is making that person appear to be a unicorn. She was an effective self-advocate, and the other person wasn't an asshole. See, I think that's where I think the difference between a kind provider and a unicorn comes in. We actually require you to teach us how to be a unicorn. I said it. I wasn't a unicorn 3 years ago. I am now because I understand, because I've been taught by y'all. Okay,
well,
I'm done.
You have some good teachers in this audience, and on this
Absolutely.
app, there's
That's
some great
true.
teachers who have been through.
Amanda, what did I interrupt? I'm sorry.
So much.
Oh, I was just going to say that any gifts that I receive tonight will also go towards purchasing books.
Okay.
So
thank you, sweetie. I appreciate that.
We believe in the book Big and Bad, and we believe in you and the book, and we want to try to get it out to as many people as possible.
Let me drop a tickler for the new book. I have a title for it now.
Uh-oh.
The title for the new book is "No One Is Coming, You Are Enough."
I like that. No one is coming, you are enough. And anytime you use the term buzzsaw doctor, it's only going to cost you 25 cents.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Do I get a volume discount?
Maybe we can discuss that later. Okay. Depends on, can I get a free T-shirt?
Absolutely. Actually, I might actually have to make that a thing. Seriously. All right. It looks to me like you're a large, not an extra large.
Oh, I'm a double X. I'm a double X. I'm a big boy.
Okay, you are. All right. I'll make it a point.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a big boy. But Amanda, you had one of your questions. Maybe it was the second one. Was about. Was it weight? How did you word it?
Oh, how do you go about setting healthy boundaries with healthcare professionals, especially when it comes to like weight and size?
Good. I'm so glad you asked that one. Because let me just say,
some patients have pre-existing eating disorders and stuff like that.
They
do.
Do. But some people have been led to believe that the answer to pain is to lose weight. And that is one of the, actually, it ends up, now look, does weight affect certain types of pain? Yes. If your knees are gone and you're putting a significant amount of stress on them on a repetitive basis, there are causes of pain that are weight related. But here's the thing. Losing the weight doesn't affect the pathology they already have. So let me say that first of all, okay? They like to say, well, if you could just get 50 pounds off of that knee, no, most of the time that knee will grind just as effectively on a 50-pound weight, on a person that weighs 50 less pounds than it grinds right now. Just I want to go ahead and tell you that part's bullshit, okay? Because there's this thing that God created called gravity, okay? And so that when you stand up, all of your weight, whether it's 100 pounds or it is 300 pounds, still goes straight to the ground because that's what gravity does. And I don't mean to be, I'm done with this. This is my point. This is why I'm so glad you brought this up, because the three people that are in my practice that are the hardest to manage for their pain, that I have the hardest struggle, they all weigh less than 100 pounds soaking wet. They all weigh less than 100 pounds soaking wet. What am I going to do? Tell them to lose weight? It's stupid. Now, do I believe that? First of all, number one thing is that I've had from the very beginning is you're beautiful as you are. First of all, okay, you don't need to lose a single pound for me to care about you more or to feel like this isn't your fault, because even if you are the result of your choices, I, as a provider, need to care a lot more about where you're going than where you've been. Need to care a lot more about that. And you're right, eating disorders, all those things, and what is it? But I find when people make an issue over weight, it's at the beginning of a relationship and they are talking out of ignorance, and they haven't even allowed themselves to know the person. Because let's talk about, let's say it is an eating disorder. I have no idea the shit that you've been through. I have no idea what your BTS is. And I better I better learn a little bit, otherwise I'm going to be the one ending up looking like an idiot. And the most important thing I can say to the recipient, though, is remember what Dr. Mike says when you're dealing with assholes who are still ignorant. Remember, I'm not as ignorant as I once was, and I have my own issues with. I once believed the whole thing about, well, if you just take your fulcrum and your axis and the physics, and I was all about the physics of pain, and the reality of it is, it's not the physics that are against you. It is birthdays. Okay, it's the number of years that something has persisted, and a lot of times people stay away from care for so long that by the time that you give them a chance to care for them, a lot of shit has already happened, and you got to love them right where they are.
Right. So besides though, just taking them as an asshole provider, if you're the patient and the doctor's saying, if you lost 75 pounds, you wouldn't hurt nearly as bad, and you know that that's not true, you feel it in your bones, it's not true. Right. How would somebody in the medical profession recommend responding?
Okay, here's how I would respond as a patient. I am absolutely for a comprehensive plan to help my pain, including anything you can do to help me lose weight, because bless God, I have been trying. I'm willing. That you know what? Then I'm going to need you to come up with a plan that gets me able to walk. You see what I'm saying? Use the very thing that they're saying is causing your pain as a barrier to their pain plan being effective. Yeah. I agree with you. I need to move more, but I cannot move more in my current state. So I would acknowledge because there are parts of it that are true. You got to understand. You know what I'm saying? Oh, yeah. You have to own the part that's true. Is the weight a barrier towards pain relief? Yes, it can be. But then I, as the patient, would say, okay, so it sounds to me like we're going to have a comprehensive plan that includes me trying to lose some weight. And I feel like I'm going to need to be able to move more in order to do so. So if you meet me here, I'll meet you there. Okay. Turn it into a discussion of goals and strategies.
Yeah. And again, that's in here, right?
Right. I hope it's in there. That one was actually a very good little bit of a twist on probably. I probably didn't cover that exactly.
You didn't cover weight, but the ending there, we're talking about the plan. What's the plan, right?
That's right.
And I think as invisible patients, we've constantly had to negotiate in the past to try to get care.
But we've always negotiated from a point of hold on a second. Please, may I have another? What's Oliver Twist? We've always had to do the Oliver Twist negotiating where we feel like we're begging for basic humanity. One of the things that the Invisible Community Forum that I feel like is changing is we are no longer Oliver Twist. Okay, we may still be Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn. Okay, we may still be disadvantaged, but we are no longer. We no longer have to only accept what they give us.
Right, and you're right. I think the more that we're able to be our own advocate, and believe in what we're asking for is
reasonable.
Right.
Just basic, right? Reasonable, right?
Those negotiations change.
They do. They do change. And, absolutely.
I gave up. Well, I cut smoking. I cut back almost over a third smoking, right, every day. And in an effort along with this new doc to say, hey, let's put that in the plan. I'll be willing, because he was dogging me about smoking so much. I'm like, well, put that in the plan. Let's add it to it. If it's valuable and you think it'll help, I'll try it. I'll do it. But then again, I'm back to where I'm at right now with this guy anyway. So, excuse me. So sorry about that.
Let me just say one thing about that right there. Nobody, including Dr. Mike, is as good as you think they are or as bad as you think they are. And a lot of times it just we ebb and we flow based on our current energy, our current battery. And sometimes if we just look back 6 months from this point, we look back at where we are right now, 6 months from now, we may not say, do, or think some of the things that we did.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I still think your doc's pretty good, but I'm sure that what have I said about myself? Every good provider has to have the ability to be an asshole. You just shouldn't have to flex it regularly.
Right. And maybe I'm sitting here still telling myself, there's no telling how many people have been calling his office because they can't get their scripts filled, or how many people just was able to squeeze in an appointment and were in there screaming. Right. So and I have no idea what kind of day he was having. It was 3:00 in the afternoon on a Friday. Right.
Right.
So I'm trying to keep that in
perspective. I understand. And I'm not defending obviously someone I've never met. Yeah.
So,
but I'm just saying that if you catch me all I want to say from a provider standpoint is I have to apologize often for acting wrong in the wrong moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
But in all honesty, as pain patients or invisible patients, we should at times. I feel I need to apologize sometimes too.
Sure. Absolutely.
So, you wrapped up like the first section of the book, part 1, with the chapter, When You Say No, Tell the Truth.
Right.
And
that's my favorite chapter, by the way.
And at the end of the chapter, you listed 7 things. And it's combination stuff with towards invisible patients as well as towards prescribers, towards doctors. And I think that as invisibles, if we walk in with these 7 in our head, and whether it's a new provider or one that we've been with for a while, I think it'll help our perspectives when advocating for ourselves from our point of view. And then the things in here that are for the prescribers, if we know that and remember this about the doctors we're seeing, I think that'll help us be more successful in the end.
Yep, I agree with you. That's why this is my favorite chapter. Honestly, I love the whole book, but I don't believe the number one. So you're right about those 7 points. If they just focus on, if they didn't do it, if I just handed out flyers, probably that page is the most useful as a flyer.
Yeah,
agreed. But I get tired of people saying no through excuses.
Mm-hmm.
If it's just because you don't want to do it, have this is why.
Yeah.
I don't. Okay, you mentioned cigarettes. I am not a cigarette Nazi, but there is not a single smoker that I have that's my patient who I don't call them. Not a cigarette Nazi, but there is not a single smoker that I have that's my patient who I don't call lovingly a dirty, rotten smoker.
Yeah.
And my point being is, I don't make any bones about how but I don't connect any bad treatment decisions. I tell them until they're ready to quit, my job treat you as if you're not going to quit and somehow try and minimize the damage that you're doing.
Right.
So that's an example of, I could say, as an alternative, I could say, well, if you don't quit smoking, you'll be dead in 10 years. And when you have your 11th birthday after that, I'm going to look like a fool.
Yeah.
It's not about, I don't need to give false negativity to the reality of poor health decisions in order to get you to change. I just need to love you where you are. I cannot emphasize that enough. And a matter of fact, one of the chapters in the new book is choose to love your patients. Choose.
Good.
Yeah.
I know some doctors.
I can't wait. I haven't written that one yet, but I know that I'm going to enjoy writing it.
And
Um,
yeah, some of these doctors, we're going to have to tie them down like Clockwork Orange style and hold their eyelids
exactly.
open and run it on the screen for 24 hours a day before it sinks into them, you know.
It's true, but it's true.
So,
But we're still changing this is just it, and we won't. You know, the thing about change is it's a lot like weight loss. You don't see yourself losing weight until all of a sudden one day
yeah,
somebody
who knows?
comes up to you and said, "Hey, how much weight have you lost?"
Right.
Because you're dealing with it. So the change that we're bringing about, by the way, that's hilarious. The change that we're bringing about, even we're not aware of it. We have to sometimes accept that even we're not aware of all the good we're doing. And because it gets so tiring.
It does. It's like that. I tell everybody, typically on Thursday nights, we have somebody come on Invisible No More to share their story, whatever the diagnosis is, chronic illness, mental health, chronic pain. And I tell them when I call them before they come on and we talk for about an hour or so. And I'm like, look, somebody is going to hear your story and connect. Somebody is going to hear. And
absolutely,
that one person you're going to touch and you're going to change something and letting them know they're not alone in this. Right. So, so we are doing change. This invisible community is changing and people are getting so much better at advocating.
Yeah.
And the love in this community and support in this community for each other is over the top.
Right. You know, and I'll go back 3 years ago again. That was one of the things that was missing. Everybody felt slighted. Nobody felt seen. And certainly nobody had the internal energy to love even those in the exact same situation. This is what's changing. This is what I see that's different. And I'm getting excited about it, even as I look at all the adversity that we still face. But I get real excited when I see people loving each other.
Amanda and I started this with the simple premise. We wanted everybody to be seen, heard, and loved. And that was it.
Yeah.
And
when I heard you ending all of your videos with "I love you," I'm like, okay, first of all, he stole it. He stole it. Second of all,
I always want to say no, but
then I knew. And then I knew I wanted to be your friend, because if anybody that can see the world like I see it, that's somebody I want to know.
You know, I don't wish ill on anybody specifically, not even Dr. Pena. I hope he gets better. These 7 things, can I go down a few of them
by all means,
real quick and get your opinion? The number one, and these are, but I think if we can get them in our head and in the right mindset with these, it'll help us be more successful advocating for ourselves, defending ourselves, advocating for our spouse, our friend, our mom, whatever. The first one is you are more. And, you know, the first 20 pages of this book, kind of, to me, the whole purpose of it, right?
Right.
Number 2 is prescribers are not the enemy, but finding the right fit is essential.
Yeah.
That's a tough pill for a lot of us to swallow.
Absolutely.
Because of the trauma we've had by some doctors, right?
And I think that's exactly the point of why I phrased it the way I did, because, you know, the trauma that you've had from the doctors is clearly the result of some, you know, again, a buzzsaw. But, you know, nobody can deny that was a poor fit.
Yeah. Oh no. Yeah. It was a poor fit. Number 3. Your PCP is the most important link in your care. Choose carefully, change if necessary.
Yeah.
Live that one myself. So the question I have, though, when I look at this is a lot of PCPs farm us out. As soon as they realize we have a back issue or a sciatica or a spine issue, here's your pain doctor.
And if you're a large healthcare system, it's more likely to happen.
And from as soon as you do that, the PCP I fired, they wouldn't even refer. I asked for a referral to a therapist because my insurance required it, and they refused because it was related to pain. They said no, you have. So I mean, it's one of the reasons I walked on them. Right?
You should, and that's right. You did the right thing.
So I think it's a hard thing for people because a lot of us are really like our PCPs, but if they're not at least quasi up to date on what's going on with my pain doctor stuff, if they're not even asking, say, hey, so what's going on with the pain, doc? How's your sciatica, or how's your back?
Right. Exactly.
You know, if you're having to force that information on them, maybe it's time to start.
It's time to go. Know? And there's the chapter is when you need a new PCP. That's clearly delineated in there. They don't have if they don't know three things about you. If they don't know three things about you that cannot be found in the electronic health record, they're not the one for you.
Yeah, I had a doctor.
That's my simple version of it.
I had a doctor once. A PCP asked me why I was on oxycodone. See, and I was like, well, you sent me to the pain doctor.
Bye.
You know, and
bye,
and
Felicia.
He's like, well, so why do they put you on that? And I'm like, well, you know, again, that wasn't a long-lived relationship either, because it just didn't work for me.
I love my PCP.
I understand, Carol. You're not
perspective on what I wanted
and what you were entitled to.
Right, exactly. I was angry and I was like, I deserve to be treated, and I'm going to find the doctors that are willing to treat me, but also understand that I believe in a healthy balance of Eastern and Western medicine. And thankfully, my two specialists and my PCP also agree with me on that.
Amen.
And they've really been very supportive of it. Thank God.
Hey, Carol,
they wanted me to. They didn't want me to just depend on them to write them scripts.
Right.
And that was important to me.
Carol, I live it. I live it. My last PCP and my last pain doctor that I just fired, they were 30 minutes away from me. That was the closest, right? I'm driving over just 2 hours to get to my PCP as well as my pain doctor. And listen, I know I'm not blowing off how blessed I am that I can be in the car that long. I mean, it destroys me. That day just totally destroys me, but I can do that. And I realize a lot of people can't. But unfortunately, especially here in Texas, I got to drive. And it got to where my health and my depression and everything else just got so bad. I had to. I had to. Right. So, but we can talk about that, Carol. Let's see what we can find, you know. So 4, remember your BTS can make you a poor self-advocate, and it also impacts how you view new situations. Find help. That hurts. That's the meanest thing you've ever. You wrote that? That's mean.
I did.
That's so mean. You know, I don't often, when I tell people to get your book, I don't always tell them, and I need to, I guess, is some of the stuff is hard to read.
It is. I agree with that.
Because we're us and we live this, and we know our stories so well.
Right.
But this number 4, it can make me a poor self-advocate, you know, and I need to constantly be trying to keep my eyes open and my mind open. You know,
right. And but what's the book about? The book is about success. And if I, as your friend, only tell you the upside and don't tell you where you can torpedo yourself, then I'm not really your friend. One of the things that I always have been is that friend that will tell you, you know, stuff that once I walk away from the conversation, you maybe you're not thinking the best of me in that moment, but I don't want you to. You know what I live in fear? We all have things that we live in fear of. The thing that I live in fear of is somebody having a bad outcome because I gave them less than all the information they needed. And so, I'll give you the stuff that you don't want to hear either. Not because I want you. Not, quite frankly, I'd rather not be the one to say some things. But if I didn't and you acted, and I feel like I've betrayed somebody when I don't give them the whole story.
No, and I'm not trying to dog you too hard. I'm just giving you some
No, it's good. No, I love it. No, it's true.
But we need. I needed that. I needed that when I read the book. You know, because it knocked me down a few notches because I was getting so arrogant because of my pain and my situation, and it took me to where took me down. It took me down a few notches where I needed to be. You know, number 5, really practice the 3-minute life story.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in the 3-minute life story. I don't think I used it how you describe it.
Right.
I wrote it, I memorized it, I put it on TikTok to get people's feedback about it. And when I got there, it did not come out in that form at all.
No.
But what it made me, it beat into my skull like 5 things that I wanted to get across in that interview.
And you did, and you
I got them out.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And
you also became self-aware. You became self-aware of how long it was taking you to get that information out. You didn't have to wait for their eyes to gloss before you kind of got a subtle hint that maybe you'd given them enough information. I think you handled it perfectly.
I think what it also did was it cut a lot of stuff out that probably didn't need to be in there.
Yet. Can we say that? Yet. Didn't need to be in there yet.
On a first meeting.
Right, exactly.
It didn't need to be in there. Yeah, I'll agree to that, right?
Yeah.
And because it really did. I mean, I in my head, the outreach we did on the streets in Vegas, I was out 6 days a week. I was on this med. I could handle it. Everything was good. They changed my meds, and that didn't matter in that initial meeting, right?
Right.
So by getting it down to that 3 minutes, which is tough,
absolutely,
I had to cut all that out. But in the end, it wasn't needed. So
right.
So I encourage.
And you still got in, but you still got in at least one good medical trauma in that 3 minutes, right?
Oh yeah.
So that's the point. It's not about. Listen, it's not about sparing them at all. It's just making sure that, again, what's the whole thing about? It's nursing theory calls this transaction, where two people are both going after their goals, and you're negotiating each of your needs getting met.
Yeah, and it works. Initially, I make a big deal that there's things that you say that I don't agree with. That's not really true. There's some things, but this is one of the things. Was a 3-minute speech, right? And then I got your book, and I was telling myself, if you're buying into this, you have to buy into this. And
I want to tell you humbly, thank you for actually giving it a chance like that.
And I did, and it took me a few interviews till I got to where I'm at now, right?
Right.
I love this one. Number 6, tell the truth, especially to yourselves. This applies to patients and providers. And you just touched on that,
Right.
Don't tell me, like Dr. Israel Pena, Granbury, Texas, in my opinion, the worst doctor on the planet. Don't tell me that you're changing my diagnosis to fibromyalgia because you don't treat fibromyalgia with opioids. Don't tell me that.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Don't tell me that.
Don't lose credit twice. Don't give me a fake diagnosis and then tell me you're giving me a fake diagnosis. That's losing it twice.
Yeah, and if you don't want to prescribe, just say I don't prescribe. And I'll shake your hand and walk out of your office, and we'll.
It is honestly, no is sometimes the most therapeutic answer, but again, that matters how you deliver it. But yes, sometimes no. Can I go back to number 1 just a quick second?
Yeah.
Because I wrote that very intentionally, and one of the things I want to point out is that it's a 3. I say you are more, but I say it 3 different ways because each of the different ways mean something. So the first one is you are more, and you is all capital. And what that means is that, no, you can't exclude yourself from this. No, you can't remove yourself. And, maybe other people are more, but not me. No, you are more. And then the second one is the emphaticness of the truth of the statement. You are more. Mm-hmm. And that's to combat that part of your brain that says, no, I'm what everybody always told me I was. And the last part of it is the one that says that even beyond what everybody has ever thought, and even you even think of yourself and the current medical model and all that stuff, no matter how high that regard is, you're still more. And it's really important to me when they're reading that they understand that there's a reason why I typed it 3 different ways.
Okay. Sorry, I wasn't trying to gloss over.
No. Listen, I told you it was my favorite chapter, so I'm going to have opinions about it. And for those that have the book at home, I'm on page 57. For those that don't,
It will be on
Completely
page.
agree,
It is
Bob.
on page 57, and these are just things that we have one more, but just things I think that whether they're written to us or they're written to the prescriber, that if we can build these 7 things into our attitudes when we go see doctors, new PCPs, existing or new specialists, I think it'll help us.
Amen.
So I'm going to let you defend yourself on this one, because this may be a hard sell to some people, especially in the pain community.
I understand.
Number 7, understand that prescribers are being set up for failure in the same way you are. Be kind.
Yep. I mean, I agree that to the chronic pain community, it's the hardest one to defend. But I will simply state this: that, and I covered in the first. This is like a summary of the first half of the book, y'all. And I covered, all the different ways that we are under the gun, and that we're constantly worried about on the door, and 3-letter agencies, and insurance prior authorizations, and constantly getting letters all the time that basically says no matter what you're doing, you're screwing up as a provider, and you're harming patients. I mean, it's just, there is absolutely, honestly, only from patients do we consistently get positive feedback on our care. I'm going to just say it like that. The
Right.
only place, which makes me understand assholes even less. It really does.
Yeah.
Because only from patients do we. They're the only source of the. They're the only ones that are going to say, "You saved my life, doc," or "You saved my mama," or "I'm so much better now that I've met you." They're the only ones that say that in a provider's professional experience, and so. Y'all don't really get firsthand exposure to just how true that statement is. I'm a Don Quixote of Don Quixotes most days, fighting battles that, not only does it seem like they're impossible to win, but I'm fighting battles that no one else even seems to care. And so, yeah, I'm a Fabergé egg, I'm strong as anything. Yeah. I'm strong as anything when I'm defending someone else. But if I get attacked personally while I'm defending someone else, I am so vulnerable.
Mm-hmm. Now, I am going to say, though, there still are, I get the DEA fear and the insurance companies and all that. I get that fear. Mm-hmm. But I'm still going to say that there are some doctors that need to learn how to code and get out of the medical profession.
They absolutely let's put it this way. I say it's slightly different, but you'll find that it's very complementary to yours. There are some people who made a financial decision to do what they do. Mm-hmm. And it's so obvious in every aspect of their, I can't even say the C word. It's not care. It's just their product. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because it's not care.
No.
It's just.
No, and it was the last pain doctor I was with. It was obvious. It was a numbers game.
Absolutely.
He had to bring in, let's just imaginary, say 100 patients, because he knew that he could sell 20 of X's to 100 people. So let's bring in as many of 100 people as we can, and get we can get those 20. And then once we get those other 80 that aren't interested, just let them out the door, because we got 80 more we got to bring in to try to.
But here's my last defense. Here's my last defense of this line, though. Until you give them, if you go in, until you give them the opportunity to prove what side of the balance, the side of the scale they sit on, you might actually remove any ability to see the side of them that you're trying to see. If you go in there with the chip on your shoulder that's too large, and they're the Fabergé egg that I am, then you might actually torpedo what could have been a good relationship. And the great thing about an asshole is if you just wait 5 minutes, they'll be happy to show you themselves. I have never I have never gone to a provider more than 2 visits without knowing if the provider was an asshole or not.
Yeah.
Okay. Not whether or not they could be. One of my favorite providers that I've ever had, we had a very bad disagreement, he and I, one day. And we both said things that we should not have said. But because we had so much positive history underneath it, we were able to go back, and I was able to text him, to send him a message through the portal. Listen, this is where I was completely offline. I'm sorry, da, 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 da. You know, he didn't end up becoming an asshole. He just had a bad day with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anybody that I've ever met that was an asshole pretty darn quick.
Right. Some of the docs I interviewed, within 5 minutes, it was, you knew what they were going to say. And, but that's why I wanted to bring out those 7 bullet points tonight.
I loved it.
It's because a lot of us do have trauma or some form of PTSD with previous doctors.
Sure.
And I think if we can, even with that trauma inside of us, that's terrible. And I'm not discounting it in any shape or form. If we can take these 7 and internalize them, maybe that'll help us give that new doctor we're interviewing a fair shake. And just
like castor oil, it may not be all that beautiful going down. It really might not. I'm not known in my circles as, the acquiescer or the peacemaker. That's
right.
That's not generally my role. My wife, if I haven't said it before, she calls me the cuddly porcupine, because all I want to do is love on people. But if you're going to take my hugs, you're going to get stuck. It's just all there is to it.
I won't tell you what Valerie calls me. I just won't. I want to clear something up that was in the comments. I made a comment that my previous doctor, walking out the door, said that he was going to change my diagnosis to fibromyalgia because you don't treat it with opioids. I was not in any way saying that I don't feel fibro is a real issue. I do. I truly do in my heart. My point in saying that was that doctor was looking for any excuse to tell me that he couldn't write me pain meds. And
right.
That
and
was
he should have just said, you should have just said no. Because I treat fibro with pain meds, not only with pain meds. A pill is not a plan, but I treat fibro with pain meds.
I didn't have a chance because he was opening the door to the exam room, walking out, and turned his head and said it, and just kept on walking. And I was like, "You motherfucker!" Sorry about the language.
Yeah, no,
that's
that
exactly
is the exact apt description of a person that does that.
And it just shows. And Mrs. Hattie, she'd be mad because I haven't written my review yet, but I've been blasting him on TikTok, and I may only have a couple of thousand followers. I think everybody, actually, I may have been reached out to by people in my hometown asking about him already. So,
wow.
I may have given my review that way. So, so you're working on book 2. When are you starting?
Well, I'm not quite up to 20 pages yet. And the problem with the second book is I'm no longer panicked. So the urgency, when I wrote this first book, I was so afraid that I would stop writing it that I just literally typed with just insanity. Literally. I mean, I'd type for so many hours a day because I was so worried that if I allowed myself one negative thought, I'd quit writing. Now I know I can write a book. So now it's a little bit harder, actually, to a certain degree. And it takes, trying to find balance between, running the clinic and, obviously trying to make time for everybody on TikTok and trying to
family.
I have 11
church.
people that live in my house.
Wow.
And then to write the book on top of it. It's slower going, much more. I anticipate that I will not be done with this book probably before March of 2025.
Is that something when you're taking a little time off, if you end up having to have surgery, that you can work on when you're recovering?
Absolutely.
Maybe.
Absolutely. If I can allow myself to not worry.
Yeah. Yeah. But see, a lot of us who deal in spectrum issues or neurodivergent issues, we tend to hyper-focus on things. So like I hyper-focus on one specific thing right now, and it does a really good job of blocking out pain, blocking out depression, blocking out. I don't recommend doing that, though. Your therapist will not recommend you doing that.
The problem is I said I have 11 people in my house. 6 of them are less than 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
God bless you, Dr. Mike.
Yeah,
I have 2 children, and I'm like,
I've got 4 old dogs, and I'm busy enough. So I don't know how you do it.
I have 5 dogs and 4 cats and 6 chickens.
Oh, you have chickens too?
I do have chickens.
Oh,
That's
wow.
awesome.
One of the questions I saw that came out really early, and I don't know if they're still here or not, but it's one of the questions that when I get messages, people ask me a lot. And it's just a generic. I'm just going to ask it generically.
Okay.
Say things are fairly well with you, and you talk about it in the book. Things are fairly well between you, and I'm going to use a chronic pain patient, between you and your pain doctor.
Right.
However, the meds that you're on, either it's a tolerance issue or there's more pain or there's new pain or anything like that. So how do you go about bringing that up to your doc?
Right.
The times I've always tried to bring it, something's not working because it's getting worse.
Right. Go ahead. Go ahead, Amanda, before
Because personally, I want to go to my doctor and ask him because winter is coming up, and I'm usually worse during the winter time. So, I want to ask him about, what we can do.
I like that. I like what you just said, though. I like what you just, and the way I would open up that conversation, I'm going to come back to this one. The way I would open up that conversation would be exactly the way you said it. I'm worried about the winter. I'm worried because cold always makes my pain worse. And I don't know that the main thing that I would try to come out of that conversation with is not necessarily a plan, but an agreement to have a more detailed conversation when what you're worried about comes to fruition. I would be happy enough if I had my provider engaged in understanding that this could be an issue. Okay. And then I wouldn't necessarily keep pressing it today because the issue that we're worried about hasn't happened yet, and we don't change a plan for something that hasn't occurred. One of the things that, like for example, when I tell people we're not going to not try a medicine because we're worried it might have side effects. What we're going to do is be very clear with each other about what the goal is, and as soon as you have unacceptable side effects, we're also going to be clear on what that plan is. So more than having to know ahead of time, if I was a pain patient with your specific question, more than having to know exactly what the plan is, I want to have a provider that admits to me that they understand that this could be an issue that we need to talk about. And if they already meet me that far, I feel like this conversation is nigh but teed up for the future. Okay. Now, going back to when you said, going back to what you said, Keith, you said, if you have a fairly decent relationship with your provider, let me just say that when you are, and this is to everybody, all 82 of you in chat at the moment, if you are afraid to simply state, because I get this a lot, that the plan is not working, your relationship with that provider is not actually that good. If you're worried that they're going to get upset at you and dismiss you because you have a complaint, then your relationship isn't that good with that provider in the first place, and you're already you're already looking towards, I might need a new provider. Because if you can't simply say, if you can't tell somebody, like let's go back to a man. If you can't tell them that you're worried about the winter, you don't have a good relationship with your provider. You don't.
Right.
I'm gonna be more emphatic. That's not a good relationship at all.
Yeah.
I understand how many years some people have been suffering and so many people have been disregarded, and that it's hard to understand the truth of what I'm saying. Okay? So I'm not saying that you just have to just wake up tomorrow and understand that I'm right about everything underneath the sun, which of course we both know I'm not. But what I will say is let's assume that you want to know how good your relationship is with your provider. Instead of saying at the beginning that the plan's not working, it's something you said, Keith, that I wouldn't. You said something that I wouldn't. I can't remember exactly. I don't know. You said, I don't know, but something's not working. Then you said something about being in more pain or something like that.
Right. Yeah, I can't remember how I worded it. Sorry.
No, but I tend, whenever I'm introducing the topic, I tend to stay strictly within, I might talk about, I sometimes talk about, the periods of time when it seems like I have no medicine to help me. Okay, because no matter what you come up with a pain plan, there's going to be these periods of time during the day where the medicine's not where it needs to be when you needed it to be there. Okay,
right.
So I start talking more about the situations where I feel like the current pain plan puts me in, rather than saying you want to avoid trigger statements that basically say, that basically make it sound like you're saying, I take the pill and nothing happens. The least useful thing that you can say is that this medicine that they are earnestly trying to help you with is sugar tablets, basically. Okay. Yeah. And I know that there are bad generics. That's not, look, I can't give you gave me a generic question, so it's hard to give you a generic answer. But the thing about it is you definitely don't want to say that their best, you don't want to come across as that their best effort is basically shit.
Right.
And put them on the defensive. And the next thing you know, you're talking about their efforts rather than the plan. Right. And yet all of a sudden you're getting into an argument that's not even the real focus. It's not working. They go so far as to say, and then I take the medicine and I can't feel anything. And that's not what the medicine's for. You see what I'm saying? Then we begin to argue about what you're feeling.
Yep. That's what friends are for.
Yeah. So, whoa. I don't know what Amanda did there, but that's an Amanda thing.
Anyway, so that's the main thing is whatever you're doing to bring it up. First of all, you should feel like you can bring it up. If you don't, then don't. I mean, if you don't, if you don't, then you don't have a great provider. You don't have a good relationship with them if you can't even bring it up. But if you do bring it up, simply, whatever you do, don't be so disparaging of the current plan that it makes it sound like they're basically doing nothing for you. You then begin to argue about intent, and the message gets lost in the delivery.
And I think we have to be careful. It's such a freaking fine balance, because you don't want to go in and attack, and you don't want to have your doc feel you're attacking them. Right. But you're hurting like a mofo.
Exactly.
So it's you're biting your tongue and you're doing a dance, right? And
it is a dance. It is a game. There are some parts of it that are just asinine. So someone put down there, how do you ask for an increase? And again, most of the time I don't specifically ask for an increase, but what I do say is if I'm the patient, is this is where the plan seems to be failing me the most. What do you think? And instead of, do you think there is room for a change that would allow me to have an extra tablet when I go to bed? See, I try to I try to instead of talking about all the different ways, I just try to find one little area that goes. And I really feel like if I just had this tablet here, it would allow me to, or the other one I like to petition for is the one in the middle of the day that lets me go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
If I had that one, I could get to the grocery store. So it's not about I need you to go up to 5 tablets a day. It's here's where the plan is failing me. And this is where I can see, if I can see from my standpoint, if I just had something, talk about, you can also think in terms of increments. So right now I'm at 4 tablets a day. Some days it's just not very good, Doc. I mean, some days 4 is, you have to acknowledge some days 4 is enough. But, and so maybe that plan is that I give you 15 extra tablets a month, one for half the days. You see what I'm saying? But you begin with, here's where my problem is, and you sound like you're ask curiosity. You just want to sound curious. You don't want to sound demanding. You want to sound. I wonder if are 3 magic words when it comes to asking for an increase. I wonder if are the 3 best words I can give you as generic. I wonder if blank.
Well, I've got one more question for you, and we're approaching an hour and a half. So I'm defending you from your wife, so we can get you back to your family.
Yeah, thank you for that.
But before I ask that question, one more push. Any of the gifts tonight that go to myself or to Amanda, they're going to go to purchase books for people who need the book and can't afford it right now. So anything that we collect on the live tonight is actually going to be doubled. We have an anonymous donor that is going to double what we bring in. So we can our goal is to get as many books out to folks that can't afford it right now, because we believe in the book that much. Just for the first 20 pages, buy the book for the first 20 pages. The rest of it is an incredible, great bonus, but the first 20 pages is reason enough right there. So my last question for you, and you just kind of touched on it by offering somebody 15 extras, right?
Right.
What's your opinion on?
I disagree with that statement. Here's how I normally. I disagree with the statement that breakthrough pain doesn't exist. What I would say is that breakthrough pain is hard to plan for and hard to come up with a plan. So that one of the things that I do try and tell my patients is they have to come up with what I call the everyday plan. And if it's the everyday plan, it means that some days the plan's not going to work. One of the things that I do try and set up as a basic understanding for all of my chronic pain patients is that some days the pain wins. Some days you spend the day in the bed. Sometimes you spend more than one day in the bed. Okay. And so it's not that breakthrough pain doesn't exist. It's that it's the hardest to quantify on an ongoing basis, because I do find that when I give someone medicine for breakthrough pain, they almost always the ones that I get that we negotiated, they use it consistently in almost every month. And at that point, is it really breakthrough pain or did I really just change the plan? And so it's an academic and an intellectual conversation to a certain degree. What I don't like is when people get basically shut down when they're trying to, this is what's happening here. What I would rather do for a person who has breakthrough pain is I would rather have a pain plan that even if they're having breakthrough pain still leaves them a couple tablets at the end of the month. I'd like to figure out, what is your everyday plan that basically tells me how much medicine I need to give you to get through a month, and I don't have to worry about whether you're over consuming in a given moment. Because what you don't want to do is you don't want to shut the conversation down so badly that they end up trying to fend for themselves. You don't want to have a relationship with your patient that's so bad that they're afraid that all these things that people are afraid to ask. This is why it's so foreign to me, because I don't want them to feel like they need to manage their pain by themselves, because they're going to manage it badly. I'm supposed to be the guardrails. I'm supposed to be the voice of reason and the fence, and to know where. And I'm supposed to be able to define where the fence is. And once I leave a patient to their own devices, why do I get surprised when all of a sudden 30 days worth of medicine is gone in 15? Go ahead.
What about the term residual pain? Like if it is something that you're having consistently almost every day kind of thing.
I think that the plan, but see, usually I think the plan just needs to be changed. You see what I'm saying? I think that most people have, if you're going to have, like, here's a great example. I have sickle cell patients. It is almost predictable that they're going to have flares every month. Okay.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, there is not a plan that keeps them out of the hospital 100%. So for that person, my plan is how do I keep them out of the hospital, 50%. You know what I'm saying? And so for residual pain, it's the same thing. It doesn't matter what we call it as much as here's where the pain plan is still failing. There are days, like, let's go with cold weather. Okay, we'll go back to cold weather. If the temperature drops below 10 degrees, if the temperature drops below 22 degrees, I just, I can't function, and and the pain plan has to change. Again, what I would probably come up with for that situation, it's a lot of times it's just simply a matter of, well, do we need to go up to 5 tablets? If you're at 4 a day, do we need to go to 5 a day? Because it gives you the great, and if you only need 4, then you're paying yourself ahead. The number one thing I try to, if I do anything as far as it relates to this, and there's nothing I can't describe all of these different situations, but let me say this. When I come up with an everyday plan, part of my everyday plan is that they won't use all of their doses every day. Okay? That's how I plan for residual pain, is that I try to come up with a plan that gives them enough medicine. If it's the worst day of their month, they've got enough. And the days where they don't have enough, where they don't have as much pain, they're building a reservoir for the day when the shit hits the fan. The problem is some people can't be given that artistic liberty because they will take extra, don't have any in reserve, and they end up putting themselves in a pain crisis at the end of the month. And that really didn't happen. That wasn't the provider's,
fault. Yeah,
not necessarily their fault, unless they were just being a stingy asshole that said, no, you get 3-5 milligrams a day and that's all I'll do. That's their fault.
Yeah.
So, hour and a half. It goes quick. It does. I didn't really think I was going to have an hour and a half in me tonight, I'll be honest with you, but I'm glad I have enjoyed it as always. I've enjoyed all the participation down below. I see everyone, all the comments that you've said. Thank you for the supportive ones. Thank you for the ones that said, nobody cares about me. All of those, because every bit of that is valid for this conversation to move forward. Yeah, and this is what this is. It's all of our lives are a safe place for anybody in the visible community to come and hang out and maybe take the mask off for a few minutes and just be ourselves. And
exactly.
Having you on really helps us a lot, and it helps everybody that watches. I mean, we have 90 people still here after an hour and a half. That's really pretty. That's pretty strong.
Let me say this: it's not. I don't do one-on-one coaching calls just for patients. If you happen to be a prescriber in the audience. I have done 1 or 2 coaching calls about how would you handle this patient who did this crazy ass thing. I'll be happy to give you curbside consults for those too. So you can do all of that at DrMikeSays.com.
And you can go to
get the book.
Yeah, you can go to DrMikeSays.com to buy the book. You can go to DrMikeSays.com to put your name on the list to have a book
donated.
Donated. Do all of that. And I am going to play the bad guy, I guess. If you can afford the book, please buy the book. Dr. Mike does deserve to make a little bit of money on what he's put together for us.
I appreciate you saying that. Thank you.
I fully believe that. And so any final from you, sir? Well, and then I'll go to Amanda, and then I'll get.
I can't wait till our next. I just think that this is going to be an ongoing thing, and I look forward. You know what? I don't mind messy. And that's what people who don't like messy don't need to be in primary care. And so one of the things I realized is the reason why I love what I do is I don't mind messy. So I can't wait to figure out what kind of trouble we get into next time. Although I hope we don't get kicked off the For You page next time.
I know, because we killed it. We're at like 81,000 likes, right. So we'd have been pretty prominent on the FYP tonight. So Amanda, anything quick from you, ma'am?
Just wanted to say how much I appreciate both of y'all and all of y'all for being here tonight. We really hope that this community makes you feel seen and heard and loved and cared for. And
I agree with that. Whoever said that Potter and I need to be on together, I would love to have that.
yeah,
I think we should do that. I am taking 8 days off.
Okay.
yeah,
After the grief project, and then after my fiasco with the meds last week, I need a little time.
I hear you.
But I'm already scheming in the background on how we're gonna do that, because I really want to have you and Potter on and get y'all's opinions and y'all's thoughts.
I love her to death. I think that
she's a riot. She's fierce.
I hate that they cut down the healthcare heifers, man. That was so delightful.
It was funny. So I know deserved. My quick note, y'all. Thank you. I cannot pay back this community enough for all it does for me. So I do everything I can for this community. Just know that these lives will always be safe. My page, my videos always will be safe for the community, for the invisible community. You guys have saved me from a lot of dark spots. Dr. Mike's book, if you haven't got it yet, DrMikeSays.com, go there, pick it up, put your name on the list. Sometime after I separate the animals that are fighting right now because they're hungry, I will screenshot and I'll post what we collected tonight, so we have an idea of what we can, what we'll be donating through y'all's generosity through the gifts tonight. So that's about all I got.
The lives will still be happening, not tomorrow, but Thursday night. We will have Invisible No More on my page.
So plan on going to that, because I do not plan on doing a Zoom party this Thursday. I don't have a compelling enough topic in my mind, and quite frankly, I need a little self-care myself. So just know that I will not be on Zoom party, and that's why I hadn't brought it up yet. For those that I have 5 or 6 subscribers, just know that we will make it up to you in some other fashion.
And so Invisible No More won't be on my page on Thursday. It'll be on Amanda's, and we'll be talking about that a lot more tomorrow and on Thursday. Okay. So, all right, y'all be safe. Thank you again, Dr. Mike. Miss
Love
Amanda,
y'all.
we'll talk to you soon. We'll see y'all. Be safe. Bye.
Bye.